All right, so this is one of my favorite topics is the lunar phase and our cycles and the seasons, how it all comes together. So when we're thinking about this, we're gonna first start with, I like to think of it in kind of 4 quadrants. So up here, we'll start up here. So if you're thinking here, 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 here. So if you kind of chart it out. So up in the top, that is going to be our, well, actually let's start at the bottom. I like to start at the bleeding phase. So menstrual phase, bleeding phase is down here. So down here is kind of that energy where we are tired, we are bleeding. This could be on days 1 through 4 of your cycle, 5, whatever that might be, however long you're bleeding for. But day 1 is the first day that you have a true full bleed. Now with that, that is also new moon time. That does not mean the new moon and your bleeding have to coincide at the same time. All right, that does not mean that. It does not mean anything's wrong with you if that doesn't happen. All right, what it can mean is it might want to sync up a little bit later. So if you want to sync that up, what can happen is you can go outside, stare at the moon, stand on the earth, and look up every night. You can do that for a month. When you are inside, you want to make sure the lighting is down, so you have like burlap lights going on, no technology, at least a few hours before bedtime, and really honoring the rhythm of the seasons. So especially in winter, that means you really shut things down quite early to tap into that energy of the new moon going in time. Now, it's also said that if you bled during the full moon versus the new moon back in the day, so the women used to gather in the red tents. If you bled on the full moon, those were kind of your seers. Those were your wise women of the village. They had the opposite cycle because most women bled on the new moon. So if you bled opposite, that was kind of that psychic intuition hit. And I talk about it a little bit more about why it doesn't matter, I think, in one of the full or new moon ceremonies next week. So look for that video so you can get a little bit more information there. I don't want to have to repeat it twice, or you don't need to hear it twice, I guess. So that's just a really cool thing to think about, if that new full moon energy. And if you're off on waxing or waning moon and bleeding, no worries. Like sometimes for me, I'm off, but it's because my cycle's making its way back to the new moon or full moon. So there's no off. Like your cycle knows what it's doing, and it could be aligning back with the new or full moon. So that being said, that menstrual time, that bleed time, that new moon time, that's this time to go inwards, to set intentions. What do you want to come up? This is a great time where business owners, if you want to start a business, this is a great time to lean into that. Or if you have new offerings that you want to do, or new habits you want to incorporate, this is a great time to start leaning into that. What is something new that you want to come up? Then from that new moon bleed winter phase, we move up to the spring. And so the spring, we have our spring energy, we have our follicular phase, and we have our waxing moon. So if we think of this, it's like the wax, like your wax go up, wane goes down. So waxing is next. Now with that energy, we have that spring energy. So we have more energy. We sometimes can overdo it because we've put ourselves out there, but this is when we're planting the seed. So this is when we're starting to plant those gardens in the spring. We're planting the seeds for what is to come. We look at the intentions that we set during that winter phase. We say, what needs to come forward? So that's kind of that spring phase, and leaning into that. There's so many different fun ways to incorporate new exciting things during that time. So just notice kind of what comes up and try it. Like this is the time to just try it. Like for me, I kept getting the hit to do pottery. So I bought myself a pottery wheel and just tried it. Probably didn't have to go that far. I probably could have went to a pottery class instead and seen if I even liked it. So you don't have to go that far, but it could be something like that where you're just keeping it as nudge, like, okay, the follicular time is a great time to actually jump in and do that nudge. Now then we go up, and so now we're up at the top of that four piece. It's the ovulation or full moon time. This is summertime. So this is the time where we have that energy. We feel flowy, we're going. We are out, we're connecting. People love your energy for whatever reason. People are like, oh, I'm just drawn to you right now. I don't know why. That's that ovulation time. We just kind of use it to draw people in, and we don't even know that's happening. You might feel more sensual or sexual during that time. So that's the time that you're really just kind of honing in and watching things grow. So if you've been planting now in the spring, now we're talking about it. So now you're sharing your idea with people. Like maybe you have this idea with, to start your own full moon ceremonies at your home. You're telling a friend like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And then just having them share with other people, or you share with other people, hopping on a Facebook Live, hopping on an Instagram Live, just kind of sharing your message during that time. And then we're going down back to the waxing. So the waxing moon, or the autumn or fall phase. And then in our cycle, it's the luteal phase. So I kind of wrap the luteal phase up into both we call it an inner time, and then you still kind of feel that luteal or that ovulation time during the beginning part of your luteal phase. So for myself, for workouts, like I still feel like I can do some more intense workouts at the beginning. I can still make those connections. I can still put myself out there more. Soon as I hit a certain day, usually day 23, 24 in my cycle, it's like brakes on. I need to rest. I'm in that late luteal phase, like I'm gonna bleed soon, and I start getting judgy with myself, with other people. I tell people to get off social media at this time, like take that off, like day 24, 25, all the way to the end of your bleed. Just your life will be like, from doing that, because you can really start to release other people's opinions and you start to really doubt yourself. And so everything that you've just worked for, you start to put doubts into your head and you're like, I don't know, maybe I actually shouldn't do those full moon circles at my house. That's a silly idea. And then you never come back to it if you don't realize, oh gosh, I'm really in that luteal phase. Like I really do want to do that. For whatever reason, that doubt crept in and you just shut that idea down. And that happens often. So we want to make sure that we're just kind of noticing where we're at in our cycles. And so, again, day one, charting your cycle using an app. Kindara is an app that I like to use. So, and I do I do my basal body temperature every morning. I have a thermometer, and that kind of just tracks to where I'm at, because it really tells you your menstrual cycle tells you so much about what's going on in your body. It gives you so much wisdom. So like your bleed is associated if you should have bright red blood at the beginning. If it's brown or darker brown, most likely it didn't fully come out the last cycle. So it's got some stuck stagnant energy in there. And so it tells us so much. And so for us to just kind of like hide it, or I just remember always being like, shoving up, a pad up my sleeve in school, or just like trying to wait until the person left before I opened up a package, a pad to like put on. I mean, all of those things, it was such shame and embarrassment. Instead of being like, wow, this has got so much wisdom for us. It's teaching us so much if we just tune in. So if you're in that boat and you haven't really held on to that, like, oh, it is powerful. My menstrual cycle is powerful. I am powerful. Start to tune into that energy throughout these next 2 weeks. Like really start to say, where did I get that story from? Like, where did that come from where it first started to feel shame and embarrassment? And it could have been right away, like, the first time you got your period, you felt embarrassed and shamed. Or it could have like slowly been like society telling you to like, keep that hidden. We don't want to hear about that. So just kind of notice what comes up for you as you learn about the menstrual cycle and our own lunar wisdom. Again, I can just geek out on this a lot. I'm trying to keep these videos to around 10 minutes. So if you have questions, let me know. I would love to answer them and go a little bit deeper into this. Again, I have some self-care next week that we'll be releasing a self-care with your menstrual cycle as well. So it's going to go a little bit deeper into that. Journal prompts, explore. These lessons in this week are meant to come back to, because obviously in 1 week, you're not going to go through all 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. You might go through 2, but you're going to be probably in 1 for sure. And so explore that lesson first. And then throughout the month, check back in. So if you're, remember, starting with the menstrual, then we go into the follicular, ovulation, luteal. So if you don't know where you're at all right now, that's fine. But next time you bleed, the first bleed, then you'll know, okay, I'm going to check back in with this lesson and start at the menstrual phase. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much. And we'll chat some more over in the Facebook group.